I've got two Transformers series that I just finished reading, and now I want to share with you in today's Shortbox Showcase. Check it out. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, and this is Northgarden Comics. Today, we're doing what I call a short box showcase, and that's where I pull out some element of my collection and share those books with you. Recently, that's been volumes of books that I've just recently finished reading, and I like to share these with you for a few reasons. Most of all, it's because I'm not just a collector of comics, I love to read them as well. So I like to share the stories and the characters that I'm enjoying. But then as I do so, maybe you've read those stories too, and then we can have a little bit of a dialogue about that, and I can hear what you thought of the story. But then maybe you haven't read it, and maybe as you watch, it sparks your interest, and now you've got something that you want to go hunt for to read and add to your own personal collection. Today, the books that we're going to look at, there's actually two limited series that we're going to show you. They're both from the IDW world of Transformers, but they're very different. The first one is called Transformers 84, Secrets and Lies. It just finished publishing, within the last few months, and it tells the story of the events that took place just prior to when the Marvel comic series kicked off back in the mid-'80s. So that's written by Simon Furman, and so it all ties into that continuity. The second limited series is a 12-part limited series called Transformers Galaxies, and this served more as a tie-in to the events that are currently going on in the Transformers ongoing title. And you've heard me say in another video, perhaps, I'm not loving what's going on in the ongoing title right now. It's moving a little bit slow. It's not my favorite. I'm not going to be harsh on Transformers because I love them so much, but it's not my favorite. But I really did enjoy the Transformers Galaxies tie-in stories, both the art and the stories and the character development. So I'm looking forward to sharing those with you. In just a minute, I'll get out of the way and I'll show you these books. But before I do, let me say, if you like this kind of content, please take just a second, hit that subscribe button. As you watch, if you see something you like, please give it a thumbs up. And of course, say hi, let me know your thoughts and your questions down in the comments. Now that I got the housekeeping out of the way, let's swing the camera around and take a closer look at the books.
We're going to get started with the Transformers 84 limited series. And technically, this is actually two different stories, though they take place within the same world and the same continuity. The first is a one-shot. It was a Transformers Zero issue, just called Transformers 84. And that was done in 2019. And then that was followed up with a 4-part limited series in 2020 called Transformers 84, Secrets and Lies. And they tell two separate stories, though they're connected. But I just wanted to explain that technically it's not the same story. But let's break it down a little bit further. First, on this Zero issue called Transformers 84, this tries to tell the story to connect the Transformers US comics and the Transformers UK comics from the 80s done by Marvel. And so you've got flashbacks here to some medieval times, as well as scenes on Cybertron showing the preparations being made by Optimus Prime and the Autobots to leave Cybertron on the Ark. And I will say too that both of these stories, both the Zero issue and the 4-part limited series, they're both told from the perspective of this character here, Punch Counterpunch. He's the Autobot double spy. So on the Autobot side he's Punch, and on the Decepticon side he's Counterpunch. And then you get these scenes here from the Ark, but he's telling this story as he witnessed these events, and again trying to tie together both the US and the UK storylines. And then at the end here you've got a cover gallery. So there's the cover that I got, and I like that they do these cover galleries in a lot of these issues. Even in the main ongoing series that they're doing today, you get somewhat of a cover gallery. These are, you can see these are all retailer incentive covers, and so from issue 3, 5, these are actually from the current Transformers ongoing title. So you get some of those retailer incentives, and they're all done by the same series artist, Guido Guidi here, and again, great job of pulling out that 80s vibe in his drawing and in the colors, which are done by John Paul Bove on this one, it looks like. And it's same creative team on the Transformers 84 Secrets and Lies series. So whereas that first one tied together UK and US, the Secrets and Lies focuses the story of the events that took place just prior to the launch of the Marvel series. So we pick up events in Marvel where the Autobots have crash landed on Earth already, and it's the 1980s, but how did they get to be there? And you get a real quick summary in the pages of Transformers issue 1, but this tries to expand on that story some. So you get, here's Ratbat, which we encounter in the first series. You see Skyfire here while he's still working with the Decepticons, and he's painted more as this scientist working with Starscream at the time. You got the Nemesis. You got the introduction of the Dinobots while still on Cybertron, but they're not D-I-N-O bots. They are D-Y-N-O Dinobots. And their cry here when they transform is traumatize. And I do like Guido's alt modes for the Dinobots on Cybertron. Swoop is more of a jet, and then they're almost like demolition type, but they're definitely heavily armed vehicle modes for the Dinobots. So I like the way they portray the team here still in Cybertron modes. But again, 4-part story that's trying to set up the ongoing series that Marvel did in the 80s. And here's your cover gallery, some of the different covers that you could have. Which is nice too when you get these, because the art is cool, and instead of having to buy all the individual issues to see what those covers were, to have those covers, you can just get them in the gallery in the back. And we won't look at every page here, but again, being told from the perspective of Punch Counterpunch, some of the events that are still going on Cybertron. We get a little more background here to Straxus, who we encounter in the US series. I want to say it's issues like 17 and 18. There's a 2-part story that takes place on Cybertron, and we get introduced to Blaster and other characters in the ongoing story, but you get some more background information there. We get the information on how the Dino D-Y-N-O bots become the D-I-N-O Dinobots as they get their alt modes on Earth following Shockwave. Some more cover gallery. It's cool Straxus image on the cover there. One thing I'll show you at the back of this issue too is something, they do some annotation from Simon Furman to show how particular pages and panels tie into that main series. You actually have the introduction of the Wreckers here, which from what I understand had more of a prominent place in the Marvel UK series, but not in the US series. So they get a little, not screen time, they get some panel time in this mini-series. And I'm more familiar with the Wreckers from the IDW iteration of Transformers, from stories like Last Stand of the Wreckers, Sins of the Wreckers, was it Requiem? I forget the title of the 3rd series they did for the Wreckers, but great characters. Be kind of cool to get an ongoing series just focusing on the Wreckers and some of their different missions during the various wars. This is what I referred to, this annotation at the end. So writer's commentary by Simon Furman, and he goes through on several of the pages and points out different notes about what's going on and how, that panel or that line in the script or what you're seeing, or maybe even something in the background, ties into what's going on or sets up what's going on in the Marvel series. We've got a battle here between the Dinobots and Megatron. We got some combiner action here. We got some more Wreckers story. And then it wraps things up and just kind of ties things off in preparation for the ongoing series that would pick up from Marvel. But just again, a fun little walk down memory lane there. fleshing out some of the plot lines and elements of the original series that were never touched upon since, and just a fun little read there. So that's the first series. This next series is called Transformers Galaxies, and whereas the Transformers 84 and Transformers 84 Secrets and Lies series tied into the original Marvel Comics series, Transformers Galaxies ties into the current ongoing series by IDW. And this 12-part limited series is an anthology series, so it actually tells 4 different stories over the course of the 12 issues. And let me show you here. So the first 4 issues are a 4-part story which give us background and kind of an origin story of the Constructicons. The second story is a 2-part story that focuses on Cliffjumper. Then we've got a 3-part story that focuses on this new Cybertronian life, Gage, as well as RC, and this character here is called Greenlight. And then the last story is another 3-part story that focuses on Ultra Magnus and a quest to find Alpha Trion. So really, it's 12 issues, but 4 separate stories that are told there, each tying into the current ongoing series. So let's break that down a little bit, and I'll show you each of these in turn. So first up, the first 4 issues is this Transformers Galaxies Constructicons Rising story. The story is written by Tyler Blazinski and the art by Livio Ramondelli, and his style I have really grown to love over his time doing stuff with the IDW Transformers. It's a very different style, this painted style, but has a really great way between the pencils and the colors of portraying these characters and this world. And this story goes through really telling most of the origins of the Constructicons. This is pre-war, so the Great War for Cybertron between the Autobots and the Decepticons. These events take place prior to that, so you see them discovering the enigma of combination. So they hadn't even formed to become Devastator at this point, but they finally do for the very first time. So it's an origin story, and I like how they flesh them out. You know, these guys are builders and creators at heart, and it just gives them a really nice depth of character, I think, and how they came to be with the Decepticons, and their background and how they worked. In here you see a lot of time with Wheeljack and some other characters. You can see this forward-looking next issue. You're going to get some Insecticons there, but you got another cover gallery. Pretty cool. Issue 2, you get a little story so far, flashback, summary page, but then it goes right into the story, and you've got 2 different timelines going on here. You got some flashback to when they were first getting started, and then what their current situation is on Cybertron and on this moon. You get the origin of the Insecticons as well, which is also very cool, where they eat the raw materials and actually metabolize the raw materials into energon, and it's a very potent form of energon. So they're greatly valued by the Decepticons, but you get more story with them, and they actually enter kind of a, or not enter, they introduce kind of a spooky element into the Transformers world, which is kind of cool. I like that element of the Insecticons. It makes for some good stories. But working our way through here, just some great art. Wheeljack there. Cool double splash page with Devastator. This is the rebuilding of Iacon in a flashback. You can see the city is seen as their greatest achievement. But I'll just flip through here. Won't tell you everything, but again, you don't need to be reading the events of the ongoing series to appreciate what's going on here. But here is finally where you see the kind of the transition where first called Devastator, and they're actually not building but doing some destruction here and demolishing. So if you want to read about how that came to be, Transformers Galaxies 1 through 4, super helpful for fleshing out that story. Next up, we've got a 2-part story focusing on Cliffjumper, which is, I love when they focus on some of the characters that get beyond Optimus and Megatron and even the Constructicons. There are so many characters to explore, and it's great when they can focus in on smaller subsets of the Autobots and the Decepticons to be able to flesh out their stories, because there's so much great character building and storytelling to be done here. This 2-part story is brought to us by, for writing is Kate Leth and Cohen Edenfield, and then art by Alex Milne with colors by Josh Perez. Love Alex Milne's art. Probably well, he's very different than Ramondelli. I don't know if I want to... You're not really comparing apples to apples when you put them side by side, but definitely amongst my top artists, or favorite artists for doing the Transformers. But this is a story really which shows Cliffjumper being kind of in the shadow of Bumblebee for most of his life. It'll give you, I don't remember if it's in this issue or the second one, but it gives you a flashback to when he was created, when he was first born. Got to pause here. Deathsaurus transformation, his alt mode is super cool looking, I think. But Cliffjumper, yeah, kind of lived in the shadow of Bumblebee, and kind of the covers hint at that anyway. But this story is really about his kind of coming into his own and who he is as his own individual person. Here you go. Here's that flashback. Here's Bumblebee. Everybody's excited for him. Great guy. And all, he's got like a ticker tape parade of sorts here. And then Cliffjumper comes out and he's like, whoa, where'd everybody go? And so he's kind of the afterthought. But he's like almost like Bumblebee's twin with a different color scheme. And Deathsaurus is always messing up his name, but I'm not going to give you all the plots. I love these little sequences too where you actually get to see them transform. But yeah, great 2-part story here. Great creative team introducing some other life forms as well. That's a cool panel. Another cool transforming panel. So there's your Cliffjumper story. Next up, we've got a 3-part story that focuses on 3 characters, RC, Greenlight, and mostly around this new Transformer called Gage. This series is brought to us by Sam Maggs, who's writing it, and then Beth McGuire-Smith doing art and colors by Josh Burcham. This really kind of picks up from the pages of the ongoing series. There's a character, she's a new spark that is born called Gage, and as tensions are rising on Cybertron, we see her and RC and Greenlight hop aboard this ship and escape the planet. But then Gage is here with these reversionists, which is like a sect of Transformers, and it's like almost like a religious type of a sect where they have this one guy called Plenary, who's their mouthpiece to Primus. And anyway, she's caught up with them, and she doesn't really have a memory of what's going on until she starts to get these hints that there's something more than what her daily routine is, and she discovers RC and Greenlight. Kind of flip through here. And then it becomes this kind of race to escape. But this is more a story about Gage and finding her place in the world in terms of what does she believe. You've got the reversionists who are saying one thing. You've got people like RC and Greenlight who are with a different faction, and they're saying another. And Gage is trying to figure out, where do I fit? Am I just a follower in all of this and just picking a side, or what are my individual thoughts as I view this conflict as kind of a newcomer on the scene, because she is a new creation, and she wants to find where she fits in all of this. So you get a little bit of this that takes place on that reversionist ship, and then we wind up back here on Cybertron. But yeah, kind of good story that focuses on really, like, before this, an unknown character, right? Because she didn't exist. So again, I like these stories as they explore different corners of the Transformers world. And then last, another 3-part story, a final 3-part story to round out this limited series called Storm Horizon. This one is brought to us by Brandon Easton, who's writing it, and then Andrew Griffith, who is doing the art. Really got to know his art style, and Josh Burcham again doing colors. Andrew Griffith, got to know him doing the Transformers Robots in Disguise title. But another great art style. And we've got some cool flashbacks here when it comes to Ultra Magnus. This is a flashback to, you can see Cybertron 2.2 megacycles ago, the war against the threefold spark. I don't know much detail about that, but I think that would make a cool ongoing series as well. Or if they ever reboot this world again, go back and tell us that, because that's even earlier than just, predating when we had Autobots versus Decepticons that, led up to that kickoff of that war. This goes back further, and so you have Megatron and Ultra Magnus, for example, as generals on the same side fighting this war, and that seems like that could be some really cool stories to unpack there as well. But we get this story where Ultra Magnus, and that I just wanted to show you those two. I like these two images here of Ultra Magnus. But he winds up, they intercept a signal, and they wind up on this hunt for Alpha Trion. So he's off planet right now. He is not on Cybertron for any of this. And this is his chase for Alpha Trion. They encounter a group of kind of criminal Cybertronians that are called splicers, and they sell Cybertronian body parts for scrap, and they make a profit off them. But again, it brings into other characters. You got Spinister. Let me show you this cover gallery here. Alex Milne cover. And then here's the final issue. He's got some really souped up armor there. And all of these, again, have that story so far page, your cast of characters. You got Octane in here. This is Sound Blaster. Won't tell you about him, but it's not Sound Wave. Sound Blaster. Chrome Dome. I like him as a character. I liked him in the Transformers More Than Meets the Eye ongoing. That's a cool space battle happening there. But yeah, just overall, this tie-in series, or this spin-off series, has been really good. It allowed them to bring in other creators, introduce other characters, explore other corners of the Transformers world. So I hope they do more of this. Now, I will say that the next thing coming, this has just started, this Transformers Escape. This is going to be a 5-part limited series. I only have issue 1 so far and waiting on issue 2. I will wait for all 5 of those to come out, but then I'll read those. But guessing that'll be something similar where it maybe doesn't do an anthology, but is going to tell another spin-off story, expanding the world that's going on in the Transformers ongoing. And then the final thing I'll say is something, I don't know. For those of you, I'm not a glove wearer when it comes to reading comics, but this is the first time that I could see really the benefit of gloves. IDW uses some great high-quality glossy paper for their, not only their covers, but their pages as well. But you can tell it on the video here, these back covers of this Transformers Galaxy series, all this nice black back cover. But now my greasy, oily hands have been touching them, and you can see all that oil left over, residual from my handprint. So just a note, if you get this and you're sensitive to that kind of thing, you might want to wear some cotton gloves while you while you read these, and definitely don't be sitting there eating chips or something to get all those greasy fingers all over the books. But good series, and recommend this.
All right, that's going to do it for me, and that's going to wrap up this short box showcase spotlighting Transformers 84 Secrets and Lies and Transformers Galaxies. Have you read either of these? What did you think of them? Like them? Dislike them? If you haven't read them, are you interested? And have you read any of the other IDW Transformers books? Let me know in the comments down below. If not, just say hi. And don't forget to do the YouTube thing. Give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe. If you're ready for some more fun, I've got a couple hand-selected videos here for you to check out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.